So, welcome everyone to the first ever episode of Let's Talk Magic, the podcast show. My name is Andy, and I guess it's only fitting that this first guest that we have is, I guess, someone special. She has been with the parks for 4 years now. She comes from us from the DCA part of town, from Carsland and Adventures campus. Recently started to train over at the parades. She goes by many names. Graduated from Cal State Long Beach with a theater's degree. Like I mentioned, she has many names, but I know her as my little sister. Let's give it up for Oralia.
Hello.
Yay! Applause, applause. Even as I was kind of like, just how am I gonna introduce you? I'm like, I never say
You
your
never
name.
say my name.
I never
No.
say your name.
Nobody in my family says my name.
Yes. So,
Nobody says it.
for the sake of just us and for me and for you, the viewers, we just call her Nina. Alright, she has many other nicknames in the company or whatever school and stuff like that, but mostly everyone just calls her Nina. So let's give it up for Nina. So I mentioned a little bit about you. I know a lot about you, of course, being with you, 28 years? 28? Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
we're getting there. But tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, like you said, I've been working with the company. I don't speak for the company. I just work for the company for 4 years now. But I've been in love with Disney. I mean, since we were kids. I think one of our first memories was watching the movies. We watched them in Spanish, and I think it was until we were older that we watched them in English. And yeah, I love my job. I don't love every aspect of my job, but I love my job. I love the people that I work with.
That's a safe answer.
And yeah.
So, you started off as, like many people do, as a cast member, right? So, like, what's a cast member? Like, what is that?
Sure. I mean, I think when Walt opened the parks, because we talk about this, another role that I have is I teach the orientation classes when we have new cast members come in, and Walt knew that obviously he could build rides and he could have all of these stores and all of these magical things, but obviously he needed people. So we were kind of like the last part of the puzzle when they built Disneyland. So that's why we're called cast members, is because we're not employees, we're not workers, we're part of a cast. So we're part of the show, we're part of what brings the magic to life at Disney. So especially being a new customer, it's rough when you start off. But that's what I tell people all the time, is like, your cast member, even though things get rough, even though guests might drive you crazy, but like at the end of the day, like, you're creating magical moments for these guests. And a lot of our guests do appreciate it. Like, we have a lot of guests that come up and thank us all the time. And for every, I think, one bad story, I think we have 5-10 good stories, but obviously the bad ones stick with us a little bit more than the good ones. But yeah.
So everyone's a cast member, right? No matter
Right.
what position you hold.
Correct.
Whether you're picking up
We all wear the
trash.
same name tag.
Exactly.
We all have the same position. Yeah, we're all cast members.
Yeah. So what was your first position when you entered the company?
So I've been in the same, we call it role. So I've been in the same role with the company since I started. It was attractions. But when you first start off in attractions, you do a lot of the guest control. So you're working the parades, World of Color,
Wow,
Pyro, World of Color. So you're telling people, I think like one of the first shift that I ever had with the company was telling people to keep walking down this walkway in front of the castle. Got to keep the walkway clear. Like, that was the very first role. That was the very first thing, with a flashlight in hand on Main Street, telling people.
Two fingers.
Two finger point. Telling people. And I encountered, because working guest control is hard. And that's why I say, like, when you first start with the company, they put you in with they throw you in. And working Pyro, So fireworks. It was the holiday fireworks in the middle of December.
Jeez.
As a new, it's super intimidating, and especially like you're yelling at these guys, and I'm loud, like I'm a loud person, but like you have to like tell these guys like you got to keep it going, and all they're doing is like all they're doing is just wanting to watch the fireworks. You're like, no, I need you to keep going.
That's funny.
From there, transition into the actual attractions. Luigi's Rollickin' Roadsters was my first attraction. From there, I learned Hyperion.
Oh,
Hyperion Theater. We don't know if she's coming back. Then Racers, Maters. That's when I became a lead. And then I also now, most of the time, I did test and adjust for web slingers, and then mostly now I'm doing scheduling.
Nice. So you mentioned the word lead. Now,
Mm-hmm.
a lead is a cast member too, but like that's a
Correct.
different like position.
Obviously, yeah. Right there. I mean, that's when you start having more responsibilities. You're responsible for mostly. The way I look at it is as a regular cast member, as a hostess, as what we call it, so an HH or a ride operator, your main role is to serve as the guest, right? I like to think of it when I'm a lead is my main goal is to not only serve as the guest, but also my cast members. Because they're under my responsibility. I'm making sure that they're safe. I'm making sure that they're taking their breaks and lunches. And I'm making sure that they're working as great as possible because that trickles down to the guest experience.
Speaking of guest experience, I'm pretty sure you've already mentioned some, or like indirectly, just broadly, like some experiences that I could assume you experienced within the 4 years that you've had.
Yeah.
So what was like the first kind of encounter that you had there with guests? Like
yeah. I think it was either my first or second shift ever working, again, fireworks. For some reason there was a good chunk of us from the DCA side that was working Main Street. And I was in a walkway, and if you ever stand kind of on the side of where the partner statue is, in between Fantasyland Theater and Frontierland, that walkway right there, there's so it's that walkway. And I don't know if you remember, they used to have like pastries there. They used to have like a coffee cart.
They used to have donuts.
Yeah, they used to have donuts.
Yes.
So my role was to just keep that clear. And I'm there, and there's this guy, and he's sitting on the railing, and he's not moving. And I'm like, sir, I need you to get out of the way. He would not budge. Sir, this is a walkway. I need you to keep walking. He's not going to budge. Third time, I'm like, sir, I need you to keep moving. This needs to be clear. And he looks at me, and he's like, I'm not listening to a woman.
Oh.
That was that was my first, like, this is what I'm doing.
Yikes.
My lead happened to be a woman.
Interesting.
And I told her, I said, hey, there's this guy. I like hunted her down. Somehow she was like where she needed to be at that time. I told her, I was like, hey, this guy isn't budging. And this is what he told me. Okay, cool. She then made it a point to get a woman security guard to kick him out.
Oh, wow.
Because he was not budging.
Dang.
And and that's kind of what it comes sometimes, because we are a touristy area. We encounter lots of cultures, and maybe like that person just happened to be in a culture where they don't listen to women, and that's kind of what it is. As a cast member, I try to not take it personally. I understand that like for whatever XY reason they're gonna yell at me, but like at the end of the day, I'm getting my paycheck. At the end of the day, I'm gonna clock out. I'm gonna go home.
Yeah.
They're the ones that have to deal with their actions.
Yeah. I could just imagine what. I'm sure. I'm assuming he got kicked out. Or.
Yeah, I mean, the security team talked to him, and I don't know, like they got him to move. Whether or not they kicked him out, I don't know,
Well, I mean,
but
it made no point. I mean, whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. Dang. Well, I mean, you bring up an interesting point, like as a cast member, because obviously, like myself, just as a guest, right? I'm minding my own
Hmm.
business and going about my day, and I'm doing what I want to do. But as cast members, you encounter the different cultures on a daily basis, and like, yeah, unfortunately, there's some cultures, that's just how their culture works. Is they don't.
Yeah.
Uh, that's how women are viewed and stuff like that. So, like that seems very challenging as a cast member, trying to kind of not almost like putting aside your beliefs, but it's kind of like, you have a role to fit, I guess. But
Right.
but at least your lead at that time kind of did
Hmm.
indirectly made it more personal, I guess, based on what the action she took. Like she made it specifically that it was a woman
Yeah.
security guard that
Yeah.
whatever took handle that. So I mean, that's, I'm sure, one of the major challenges about working there is the cultures and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
But then, like, I also want to talk about, like, it's almost like there's different breeds at the parks too.
Oh yeah.
Aside from just cultures, there's different breeds in the parks. Like, obviously, you have your tourist people,
Hmm.
and they have their cultures and
Hmm.
stuff like that. But then within the parks, like specifically here in Southern California, the locals, uh, you have your bloggers, your influencers, right? You have your Disney couples, your Disney family. But something that I've noticed, of course, and of course is because I've assumed this role as a dad now with Xavier, you know, Disney dads are like a whole different breed.
So with Disney dads is there's different kinds of Disney dads. I mean, there's a whole Instagram page with like Disney DILFs. I don't know if you've seen it.
Disney what?
There used to be a page, Disney DILFs.
Oh my god.
Dads that I would like to. But yeah,
4C.
um, for C, yes. So and then they're the dads that were dragged into this, right? They're
Yeah.
like, this isn't their first choice. They're the dads that are genuinely there and they also like Disney. And then there's just different kinds of Disney dads that will visit the parks.
Have you had any experience with any
Yeah.
Disney?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, I'm a lead at my attractions, and so I was at Mater's a couple days ago, and part of also the struggle of working DCA specifically is that we sell alcohol in the parks.
Yeah, it's geared towards more like adults and stuff.
It's geared more towards adults, right? And there's this guy who was there, daughter, son,
family.
Significant other, I don't know, family. They were family, right? So something was a little off. I think working in a park that sells alcohol, you start recognizing, you immediately see the red flags. Homeboy was a hot mess from the beginning, from getting inside, hot mess. He has like one of our reusable big bags that he hands over to one of my cast members, and my cast member was like, yeah, we'll hold it for you. And he proceeds to ask my cast member whether or not she has a boyfriend. Nope. And again, he's with his family, like he's with his, and I'm like, so I immediately became like mama bear and was like, you're no longer to talk to him. I'm going to follow you around as you're doing your job, because that is not okay.
He's with his daughter, right?
He's with his daughter. His daughter. Daughter's in the tractor. And so then when the ride stops, I told my cast member, hey, you're not going to hand in the bag. Like I will do the exchange of the bag, whatever, And call it petty, call it me. You know what? It was a little bit more convenient for me to hand it over to the significant other. And girl code, I said, hey, this is what happened. He asked my cast member whether or not she had a boyfriend.
Chismosa.
Look. If I wasn't going to be able to take care of him personally, I'm sure his girl gave him hell. You know, like I obviously can't. If my cast member felt uncomfortable, what I could do is make her feel safe by being with her as she's having to still interact with this guy. But obviously, like, I can't tell him off and be like, "What are you doing?" You know? Like,
yeah, you don't want to, especially in front of their family. Like,
it's right. Yeah. At that point, I couldn't do anything. It was to the point where he insisted on staying on the ride after the ride was over because, according to him, the ride was too short. He swore up and down that the ride was longer, and I proceeded to tell him, no, our ride is 90 seconds because that's how long our ride is. If it wasn't because I had other people waiting already that didn't have a tractor, because obviously we count however many groups we have is however many tractors we have. So if it wasn't for that, you know what, maybe I would have let him ride again. Okay, whatever, you want to ride again, this isn't, you know, you pick and choose your battles. But I had somebody that was like not had a tractor and their family was on.
Yeah.
So I told him, I was like, hey, I need you to go. Like, he then proceeded to, you know, keep cussing at me, which by our rules in the park, if you cuss at a cast member, if you say any of those curse words, you could get kicked out. So at that point where he started escalating it is when I said, okay, no, this is something that I have to get security involved. I'm going to have to talk to my manager. When he finally gets out of the tractor, he then picks up his daughter, puts her over the fence, proceeds to him jump over the fence. And I was like, hey, dude, like, you know, please use the exit. Like, that's not cool. Oh, what is this your life? You know, telling people what they can't, like, is this your life? And I said, no, sir, this is my job. I need you to, like, leave. So we call security, basically what, you know, give a description of the guy. I gave the description of the whole family. And then homegirl was pissed. Homegirl confronted him, as she should. And then, he stormed off, she stormed off afterwards, but then obviously, like, security with the description of him, if they saw him anywhere in the park, like, he was done.
Yeah.
He was done. And this was about an hour before we closed.
Wow.
So who knows what other encounter he had with other cast members, if this was the first time. But before he got on the ride, he was chugging a drink.
Whoa.
Right before he got on the ride. So that just tells me he had either been drinking all day in the park or whatever. Because I have two theories. If you're drunk at our park, it's because you're a lightweight or you have a lot of money to spend on alcohol.
Yeah, it's not cheap to get drunk at Disneyland.
It's not cheap to get drunk in our theme parks.
Or he could have snuck in alcohol too, maybe.
That's also, you know, things happen. But that was my encounter with that guy. And, you know, those kind of guests are like, you know, maybe they come once every, you know, so often.
Yeah.
Because most of the time when we encounter guests like that, it's because they're not, you know, magic key holders or they haven't been come to the parks a lot. So, because our magic key holders know our rules and they know better.
Well, even then, there's still some that, you know, like to bend the rules a little bit. You know, especially with DCA with the drinking and stuff. I'm like, but that's expensive. That's an expensive night to get drunk at DCA.
It's yeah, and it's expensive, and you know, you spend all this money, you go through all this trouble, and so, like, from a cast member standpoint, I'm like, the least you could do is like be respectful to us, and abide by the rules, right?
Yeah. Like,
that's the least that I am expecting our guest is to just be respectful. You know, like I said, we do have a lot of guests that keep coming back. You know, they keep coming back with us, and we've established relationships with those guests. But every once in a while, you know, you'll get a bad apple that will really just stick with you.
Yeah, those are the dads we don't want. Please. As a dad myself now, please. We don't want that image at Disneyland, because unfortunately, it's probably not even the first time that does happen, you know. And it's not just dads, of course. You know, there's other species in the parks that cause drama in the parks. I remember, and I don't know if it was particularly because, well, obviously at that time we were dating, and obviously as pass holders, you know, we weren't in a hurry to like ride all the attractions, you know, to get everything through
Hmm.
because you know we could just come back, right? So
Right.
most of the time, especially towards the later uh, portion of our young adulthood, if you want to say, we would people watch a lot, and we would just sit down and people watch, right? Not to judge anyone or stuff like that. I mean, but like just to observe, especially because at that time, um, we were expecting Xavier was soon to be born, and so we would just watch families and stuff like that, right?
Hmm.
But for whatever reason, there's couples everywhere around the park, and for whatever reason, wherever we sat down, there's this girl on the bench with, I would assume, her boyfriend or someone else, crying her eyes out, like
Love it.
what? And this is during like a parade, like during the busiest time of
It's
the day.
it's always the worst. It's always the worst time where people love to argue, and it's always like, I just need you to keep walking. Like I don't
And I
like,
mean,
I'm sorry, but I just need you
or they're sitting
to
on a
keep
bench,
walking.
right? They're sitting on a bench, and like you're like, it's so awkward. Like, can I sit there because this girl's bawling out, crying, and the guy is just like, "Oh, I'm sorry," or like, you know, we
Yeah.
can make it work. And then she's like, "No, this is not the first." I'm like, "Honey, if this is not the first time he does this, he's gonna do it again," you know. And like in my head, but like,
Yeah.
and now as a dad, it's like it makes you so uncomfortable with your. Obviously, Xavier doesn't understand, you know, most of the concepts. You know, obviously he's barely gonna be 2, right? But I'm just thinking
Yeah.
later on, like, okay, when he's like older, right? And then some of these guests, you know, their choice of words are like not the best, and you're in line for an attraction,
Right.
and then they're just arguing behind you. It's like, what do you do? It's like you just want to hide in a turtle and like, you know, a
Yeah.
shell.
It's rough. It's rough because, like, whether they're tired, they're stressed, they bring outside things into it. And so sometimes it also happens with like us, where like I'm trying to group people into like a vehicle, or I'm trying to just start the ride and people like arguing, and I'm just like, I just need to do my job. Like, I just need to press a button. Y'all can argue on your way out. I don't care. Like, or they're what X, Y, and Z. And grad nights are always
Oh,
breakup central.
yes, grad nights.
Breakup central, because it's always the guy's going off to college and the girl wants it to make it work, but the guy's like, no, I want to be single in college, and the girl's like, why are you doing this to me? Or it's the friends that, like, one of them wanted to do something, and now it's like the whole world is just coming down because of something. And it's, I don't know if it's because like I live for the drama, but I'm just like, that's y'all. Some people will be like airing it out just like for everybody to hear.
Yeah, I remember I was in line for Rise of the Resistance, and there was this. I don't know if they were a couple or they were just friends or whatever, but they had came with the group, and there was some drama within the group, and she kept
Right.
repeatedly saying like, "Oh, this is not the first time she does this." I'm like, "Well, if then why do you keep inviting?" As they say in Spanish, "Si ya me conoces, para qué me invitas?" You know, like if you already
It's,
know how I
yeah,
am,
it's,
why are you gonna invite me? But it's like
well,
you're in line, and then like there's a bunch of families or just people, just guests, right, that want to enjoy Disneyland, and then you're just like putting out your drama for the whole world. I'm like, do you want us to feel bad for you? Like, do you want us to be like, oh no, here,
yeah,
go ahead, you know? I honestly, I was just like, you know what? You want to cut me so you can go quicker? Because like, I was with Xavier. No, I was not. I was Rise of Resistance. Who was I with? I think I was by myself actually, and I was just like, oh my god, like why here? Why go? You know, to the corner somewhere, you know, where no one can see you, and you know, figure out your problems. Like you said, I understand some people that you have problems. People are people, right? Like even guests
right,
at the parks, you're people. You have your baggage. You know, you have stress, work,
yeah,
whatever. Like that was one of the reasons why we annual passes is to escape all of that, you know, and just have a moment to just, you know, whatever. And that's what it should be. Not, you don't bring the drama into the gates at Disneyland, you know?
It's rough. It's rough. I mean, and like I again, the at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm just trying to do my job. Like whatever is going on with you, like it's just like, and there's something about like being a cast member too, where I've had guests like come up to me too. I remember there was one time I think I was at Web Slingers, and there was this woman who was like having a full-blown anxiety attack. Mm-hmm. She was at the exit, and she was with her daughter and her friends. And honestly, when people, especially when guests are like venting to me like that, I'll listen, but I'm like, I'm not gonna remember your story, because I understand you're just trying to vent to someone, and you know, your problems are your problems. And she was like venting, so I had to stay with her for like a good 10 minutes while her, you know, her party was in line, because she was having a full-blown, you know, anxiety attack, and she was crying. And I don't remember what it was going on. I just knew that she was, you know, and I just was like, as a person, like, you're like awkwardly like, what am I supposed to do? Like, you know, your first thing is like, but like, I think as a cast member, sometimes people like feel like they can share things with you because something about our name tag holds some sort of safe space for them. It's like why parents tell kids, like, if you get lost, find somebody with that Y name tag, right? Because there's a sense of security with us, there's a sense of safety. And so it's like, you know, I was talking to this lady, and it's like, do you need water? Like, do you need to sit down? She's like, no, I'm okay, and crying. And then she, you know, she was finally like, the daughter and her friends came, and they seemed like they were having a good old time, obviously, because, you know, whatever was going on. And the mom was just really grateful that I stood with her. So it becomes, at some point, you're just like, oh, okay, I'm just going to sit here and be a therapist for this random lady that I don't know.
This is not part of my job description.
Because I'm used to doing that with my cast members. I'm used to doing that with my cast members, because I'm their lead, and they feel comfortable with not being open to me about things. But to guests, I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
and like I said,
you have other responsibilities.
Half the time they just want to talk.
Yeah,
I was like, I need to send this rotation. I need a my ride is broken. Like, I need to go.
Yeah.
You know, but like,
it's like, catch me on my break if you really want.
No, because I'm supposed to be sitting down on my break. Don't catch me on my break. I'm not getting paid. Don't catch me on my break.
That's true. Wow. I mean, I remember 4 years ago when you were applying for at Disneyland, right? And obviously we already had been to Disneyland and stuff like that, but like, that was just kind of like the facade of just being a cast member. Like, but you working there for the past 4 years. I'm glad I'm not the one that's working there, because I would have been like, I you know, whatever. I probably would have been the dad that was drinking as a cast member, because I'll be like, oh my god, there's so much stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, not everything could be rainbows and unicorns.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like I tell people, at the end of the day, yes, Disney is magic. Yes, it's all of these things. But at the end of the day, it's also a business, right? Yeah. At the end of the day, we're there to make a paycheck, and people are there and they expect a service. So at the end of the day, it's a business. And some people, it's really hard to make that disconnect. I think that for me, it's easy because I have a life outside of my job. And
so others don't.
And
others don't, actually.
And I just, like, others, not that they don't, but it's like they take things a lot to heart, and that's just the kind of people that they are, and that's fine. That's fair enough, you know. That doesn't justify people's actions. That doesn't mean that you could treat people the way that we are sometimes treated. I'm just the kind of person that could brush it off very easily. The one time I couldn't, though, the one time I did not was, I had a guest who wasn't wearing a mask. And this, obviously, we're in the middle of a pandemic still. So if you're indoors, you still need to wear a mask. And at the attractions, we sometimes give out the disposable mask, but we just happened to be out. Like we had nothing. This was really when we had just gone back to, oh, you need to wear a mask inside at all times. So a lot of our guests coming in didn't know that or weren't aware that we had gone back on the mask policy. So we were out, and I'm helping this family out. I'm telling this guy, like, I think it was just for his wife or for him, like they needed one more mask, and I'm like, okay, I'll go look for one. And I like went, I'm like, I'm sorry folks, like I don't have any masks. Like you need a mask to get in. You could go buy one. Like you can't need a mask. And the guy says, oh, like to his wife, oh, don't listen to her, she's just being lazy and doesn't want to go get one.
What?
That struck a nerve. Because you could talk about X, Y, and Z, but don't talk about my work ethic that way.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that I'm genuinely trying to help you, but your attitude now makes me not want to help you. And I went looking, and we didn't have any. And I wasn't a lead at the time. I was just an RO at the attraction. And I told my lead, I said, hey, like I need a moment, because like that struck me. I was like, yeah, don't talk about my work ethic like that. And I told the wife, I was like, hey, look, like I'm genuinely trying to help you, but what's not okay is for him to call me lazy. And there was a group of guests in the room, because we were right before you get into the pre-show. We were in that holding area. Yeah. So there's guests around, and they're all listening to what's going on. And I told my lead, and he's like, okay, like when they get down to the station, I'll talk to them. And of course, as soon as they get down to the station and my lead's trying to talk to them, the homeboy is the sweetest guy in the world.
No, of course.
The guest was really appreciative that he went and found a mask, blah, 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 this and that. And it was another thing of like, oh, you were just being misogynistic, and you were expecting me to just, go, turn my head around and look everywhere. And it's like, I have another job to do. I'm trying to get you in and out. I'm trying to get those guests into the pre-show and then get new guests in. So that was one that really like stuck with me. I was like, I think one of the only times where I like genuinely was like, I need a moment. Like I need to step back a little bit, and then took a breath, and I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's keep going.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of get the sense like some people think like, I mean, I don't know how to explain it. Like, you're a person still. Like, just because you work at Disneyland, and
exactly,
it doesn't take a fact away that you're a person doing a job.
Exactly.
Like
yeah,
just like if you were at any other job, like it doesn't give you the right just because you're at Disneyland. But something that I do respect and admire about Disneyland is they do look after their employees. Like they do care about them.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there might be some decisions going around right now that doesn't show that. Yeah. But, I mean, at least within the park.
I think, well, what it is at least I'm, like, again, with that cast member from the first story, my job was to make her feel safe. So I was, like, as a lead, as a person in a leadership role, that was my responsibility. And I've been really fortunate to work with other leads when I was an RO, when I was, not a lead yet, that also had our cast members back. And I think that's something that cast member to cast member, we tend to have our each other's backs, sometimes that's not the case, but for the most part, cast member to cast member, like we look out for each other, because we know that who else is gonna look out for us. So yeah, there's roles implied, like, not going to say that the company absolutely like doesn't care about us. I think that, like you said, people forget that we are, at the end of the day, like I take off the name tag and I go home, and I am a person, It's like that guy was like, what is this, your life? And it's like, no, this is my job. Like I don't have the name tag on me all the time. I'm not at work. I'm not at work.
Yeah. It's like, catch me outside. Then we'll see. That has to be tough, as the life of a cast member, and
Mm-hmm.
living that, well, experiencing that, at the parks and stuff like that. Not on a daily basis, of course, but like just.
No, yeah. I mean, on a daily basis, like for the most part, now that I'm in scheduling, I don't deal with guests a lot. I'm mostly dealing with cast members who are another breed of people. There's just as much as people like have things to say about our guests.
The
We're not
dark side of
exactly perfect
magic.
either as
It's
cast
the dark
members.
side of magic.
But like I said, we do have those guests that make it easy to come into work. That we go in and we are genuinely excited to see. Like when Avengers Campus opened and we saw all those kids like so excited when they first saw Spider-Man fly across, or when they first saw like all of the superheroes and they got to do what Spider-Man does, like that for me makes it easy to come into work, because I know that those guests are genuinely like excited and they are grateful that we're there. Or like when I'm at Carsland and I see kids see Lightning McQueen and they're like, "There's Lightning McQueen, there's Lightning McQueen," and they get like all like that. It's like that. Those are the moments that like are super cute and make it, like I said, make it easy and really appreciative of the job that I have. Because you're always gonna have bad days. You're always gonna have people that are gonna make you mad. But at the end of the day, that's only a certain small percentage of our guests. For the most part, the rest of the people that come in through those gates are genuinely just looking to have a good time, to have fun, to build those memories with their families, and to be able to create that for them is really, it's rewarding, to say the least, as much as there's other things.
And that's what Disney's about, at least what it should be about. I know there was the sense that kind of was gone from the parks pre-pandemic, with a lot of annual pass holders that were kind of toxic, which I talked about in some of my videos and TikToks, but that ultimately was the mission that Walt had. This was for his family, not just kids, his family. There's adults as well and stuff like that.
Exactly.
But, I mean, you're always going to have those people that ruin the magic for everyone, unfortunately. Right. But, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a job, and you still have to move forward and, try to wear as much butter, as we would say in Spanish, as you can, la mantequilla, so that way it just rolls off and then just go about your business. But I mean, overall, I mean, obviously you've been there for 4 years, so like, and you're trying out different roles and stuff like that and whatnot. So like, obviously, I mean, overall, you seem to enjoy it, right? Working there at the company. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like I said, I love my job and I love what I get to do. Not every aspect is perfect. But at the end of the day, like if I didn't love it, I wouldn't be there. At the end of the day, if I felt like it wasn't a good thing for me, I wouldn't be there. I love my fellow cast members. So the ones that I work with, I get to work with really cool people. I get to be part of really cool moments. So I love being there. I don't see myself leaving anytime soon. 4 years is a lot, but I have customers that have been there for more than that. So
that's crazy. I know. Years to go. Yes, you please stay there because the passes are kind of getting expensive, or the magic keys, whatever they're called now, they're kind of getting expensive, and then they're starting to sell out for whatever reason. So you definitely need to stay in there, because
definitely obviously there's perks to working there, and we used to have a lot more perks. I do miss those.
I know, right? Yeah.
But
so just to wrap things up, we're running out of time, but what would be like a tip that you would give to someone who is either starting off, you might have encountered them, or is thinking about, or contemplating applying at the parks, or just in the company in general?
Right. Yeah. It's very time consuming in that you either really dedicate your time to it or you don't. But if it's something that you're really passionate about and it's something that you want to do it. I never want to deteriorate or never want to say don't do it. I say you should. It is a fun job. At the end of the day, it is fun. You are creating those magical moments for people, and even though all the aspects aren't perfect about it, if you can learn from it and if you feel like it'll be good for your growth as a person, do it. Absolutely do it. And never forget the true intention of what Disneyland was, right? It's to create these magical moments for people to live on forever and ever. And to be part of that is something really special. And it does feel like a privilege sometimes to be in that position that you are. But it is a lot of hard work. Nothing is handed to you in this company. Everything you have to work for. And if you're ready to do that, if you're ready to work hard, if you're ready to put that commitment in, absolutely do it.
Hard work and dedication. And some expensive magic. Yeah. Well, I mean, thank you for taking the time. It's not like you had a choice anyways, because, being my little sister, you had to do this. But as a guest and as a dad now, we really appreciate the effort that all the cast members do, and everything that's put forth to run Disneyland 365 days. Let's not forget, Disneyland never closes. It never closes. So you have cast members doing this, a good chunk of the year, and doing this 8 hours plus a day. So don't forget.
I think the first time I didn't spend holidays was when I started working with the company.
Yeah, that's right.
As soon as I started working with the company, I knew that my holidays were like, well, especially starting off. I will say that if you're starting off, expect Christmas, Halloween, Thanksgiving, all the major holidays. If you're starting off,
I'm sick. And especially if you're on the scheduling for that day, you're gonna be like, denied.
See
you. I will see you there at the parks.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for taking the time. This was the first ever episode. This was really fun. We definitely will be having you back on the show with some other more chisme that we need to talk about. It won't all just be chisme, of course. We're gonna give some tips and stuff like that, for families, for individuals to visit the parks and make their experience a more magical one, right? And to help cast members as well. As you can see, it's very hard work working at the parks, a lot of dedication, a lot of effort. So really, when you're at the parks, make sure to thank your cast members, appreciate them. You don't physically have to go up to them and say thank you. Just behave and follow the guidelines, and they're there to make your experience a better one. Okay, so next time you're at the parks, just think about that. And thank you again for being here. We'll catch each other at the park sometime soon. I know the holiday season is fast approaching. It actually starts November 1st. Okay, so depending when this video gets out, it might have already started or will soon be starting. So just in time for the holidays, things will be changing around the park and stuff like that. So check back on this channel. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Consider giving a thumbs up if you enjoy this content. Let us know in the comments below some of your experiences with cast members as a guest. Some things possibly that you might want to see changes around the park, or suggestions for, just in general type of thing. Let us know what you think. So again, thank you. Say hi to mom. Say hi to dad. Everyone take care.
I will.
And once again, this has been Nena, or Oralia, as her real legal name. So thank you all for being here for the first ever episode. Make sure you check back for future updates. Hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss future updates on this episode of the podcast show. Until then, my name is Andy. Her name is Nena. We'll see you at the parks.